Welcome to Ask Your Doctor, and I'm Dr. Sharon Norling. Today's topic is on transgender and the transition that it takes to accomplish this. Being transgender is when an individual decides to live a life of a different gender identity than the sex that they were born with. This is a huge topic, and it's one that really deserves a lot more information, and it deserves a lot more medical support and social support for these individuals. And there's a process as people go through this. First of all, there's this self-awareness, and it can occur at any age. Even people who are transgender will say, I knew from a very early age that I was not the person that my body was showing me that it was. And then they will seek medical advice, and that could be 6 months, a year. The time frames are different for each individual. And then they might change their appearance. They might dress differently. They might talk differently. And then there's a coming out period. Sometimes this concludes it for an individual. Otherwise, they go on to hormonal replacement therapy or even surgical procedures. But it's a complex issue. More than one half of the LGBTQ community homicide victims in 2013 were women of color. We know that throughout the United States, about 2%, actually less than 2%, will attempt suicide. In the transgender community, it's more like 46%. There's also housing discrimination. There's also only 17 states that actually protect this group from housing discrimination and obtaining other accommodations. So we see more of a homeless population. And 1 out of 4 transgender individuals happen to be living with HIV and AIDS. Now, it's really important for individuals to have kind of a lot of support. This is a group that really needs it. It's a group that has to assess their readiness for change. It needs mental health assessments. And when I say mental health assessments, it's not because these individuals are mentally ill. No, it's because of the choice and the feelings that they have about changing is really affecting them. They're more anxious. They're more depressed. They have difficulty sleeping. They're tired. There's many symptoms that come with that based on their transition. So they need that support. They need medical support, social workers, group support. It's a wide range of things that are not readily available for them. And there's very few communities, very few services or universities or clinics that actually have full programs to help them transition in a more comfortable way. And that's an area that really needs to be addressed. I think the other thing that's a big change is when adolescents decide that they want to transgender. Now, adolescents, I mean, seriously, I have 3 grown sons. I use the term loosely. I know what it's like to raise adolescents. And even if they're not transitioning, they seem to be transitioning in a whole bunch of other ways, ways that drove me crazy, ways I didn't understand. And it's a whole change for parents. There's a loss, there's a grieving process. But the best thing they can ever do is to love that child where they are in their transition. And sometimes, even if they're not becoming transgender, those kids are hard to love sometimes. I mean, I'll just say it. You know, sometimes children aren't, what they cracked up to be before you got pregnant, But even an adolescent will have body changes. They'll have fears, insecurity, identity crisis. So being able to support them and to be aware so that as a parent, you can actually have it really open communication where they feel safe talking to you about it. Because 80% of the students today that are transgender have fear of their safety in schools. There's also so much lack of medical support. So I think looking at this, there's so much more we need to know. There's so much more that needs to be done. But if your child is transgender or wants to be. Just love that child. If I had a prescription pad, that's exactly what I would write for you. And I want to say to the transgender community and your families, you deserve the best care. And this is Dr. Sharon Norling. Ask your doctor on the Asheville View.